Yeah, once we're ready. There you go. Okay, it's recording.
Thank you. My name is Tracy Smodell, and I'll be filling in for Chairman Cabasco this evening. If we can, we'll be opening the Economic Development Commission meeting for Monday, November 13th. It is 7:02 p.m. And Tony Fraden, if you could please call the roll.
Sure thing. Jerry Cabasco. Cecilia Green.
Here.
Robert Perry. Here. Tracy Smodella.
Here.
Nanette Gutenkopf.
Here.
Joe Laporte. Russell Martino. Dan Gunstein. Here. Stephanie Ganzi. We have five. Thank you, five, for coming. We do have a quorum.
Thank you, Tony. At this time, I'd like the commission to please make a motion to approve the minutes of the October 9th, 2017 meeting.
I'll approve them. I'll approve the minutes for.
Is there discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
And I'll abstain.
You abstained?
Yes.
Okay. Stand.
Fourth on the agenda is Small Business Saturday for November 25th. And Tony, I believe you've included some information in our packet?
Yes, thank you, Commissioner Smodella. Give me a second. I'll flip through the packet here. Small Business Saturday is an American shopping holiday that's always held on the Saturday after Thanksgiving. Everybody, of course, hears about Black Friday nonstop through your email and TV and radio and everywhere you look. Small Business Saturday is a little different than that, and as the name suggests, it promotes shopping at small local businesses. So, of course, we all concede that a lot of shopping's done online and at big box retailers and malls, but not to forget the small businesses. American Express actually launched this back in 2010, and they do a lot of marketing on their own for it. As you can see, they will send out promotional materials. I've included some of that at your places, some canvas bags, some buttons, and this is the second year where I applied to get some of these materials and marketing items and have been distributing them as we did last year to some local small businesses. And we do a few things where we like to promote them. Of course, you all know Bartlett very well, and we don't have the big malls and the big box stores with, the exception of Home Depot, but not really places where you might think of as going holiday shopping. So what we've done is this ad that I'm about to show, that Commissioner Smodella said she's already seen it. It's running fairly constantly, starting a day or two ago up until November 25th. So I don't think I put it in the memo this year, but the cost for this advertisement is about $2,500, similar to what we did last year in terms of running approximately 900 times over a period of a little more than 2 weeks. And when I say it's running on local cable TV, I mean throughout the channels. If you name a cable channel, it's going to run on it at some point, from all the way from the news channels to sporting events. People tell me they see Bartlett ads during the Bears game sometimes, or a Bulls game, or whatever they happen to be watching. So it does get a lot of airing and a lot of good comments. So this is a 30-second ad. As I've explained to some of the commissioners over the years, when you buy a TV ad, it's either a 30-second or a 1-minute increment. And considering the price of it, we went with this 30-second ad. So here it goes. I'm going to click on it and show it.
Celebrate downtown Bartlett's Small Business Saturday on November 25th. selling goods from books to bikes to skateboards and much, much more. Meet your business neighbors at Book Ladies Book Attic, the shops of Banbury Fair, Little Shop on Oak, Spin Doctor Cycle Works, Yeah Board Shop, and many more. Many are owned and operated by your neighbors, so dollars spent stay in our community. Hometown quality, great customer service, and the satisfaction of supporting the small businesses of Bartlett is what you'll find in this great community. That's guaranteed.
So there you have it. That started running recently, and along with a lot of the materials that we're giving out, all the businesses that have been featured in that are always very grateful of it. I pay them all a visit every year and remind them, hand out some not placemats, doormats, and hand out various items. And, you know, some of them just hand things out and use the doormats, and others, like you can see the book lady really does it up, and she puts up banners and stuff like that. So there you have it, Small Business Saturday, don't forget about it. These small businesses are part of the lifeblood of our community. So this is out of the 3 cable advertising campaigns we do during the year, this one is really my favorite. So it reminds people to shop locally, and it's nice to visit with all the small businesses every November. So if there's any comments or questions about that, I'd be happy to field your questions.
The chamber always does that tree lighting ad in the special section section of the holiday shopper guide, and we devoted half of it to the small business this year.
Oh, that's
Shop
fantastic.
local and that.
That's fantastic. I mean, people will get upset when one of their favorite small businesses goes out, and that's Bartlett or any community. So this is a good reminder that, I mean, some of these businesses really rely on this time of year. You've all heard that there's some retailers that do up to half their business from about this time of year through the end of the year. So it's really important for us as economic development staff and you all as economic development commissioners. You can see I'm just clicking on this from the Facebook page. Make sure to share it, you know, with your own networks. And thank you for that comment also, Nan, that the chamber gets behind Small Business Saturday as well.
I'm curious to know, from the businesses that are featured in the ad, is the village encouraging them, those businesses, to actually do a query of their customers? It's like, why are you coming in on Small Business Saturday, so that we can maybe measure the success of those ads?
I don't think that they do any formal queries, but you know, because of the close-knit business community in the downtown that I'm often in communications with, really all of these I speak with almost on a monthly basis. And last year, for instance, a few of them mentioned that their customers came in and mentioned it, that they saw it on Small Business Saturday. Now, if you've been in Bartlett for any number of years, you're going to know that Banbury Fair is there. You're going to know that there's a bike shop in the downtown. But last year, the bookstore was kind of new. The dollar store, what I want to say about that is it's been there for many years, but it was also poorly managed for many years. So we feature the new owners in it, and if you've been in there, they've spruced it up. They've increased the number of items that they sell. So I guess that's kind of a longer answer, but the short answer is we don't ask them to query their customers, but they've basically have all told me, when I come in there and hand them the items, they say, "Thank you, Tony. I had X amount of new people came in. They said that they saw me on the commercial." Everybody said, "Boy, I didn't know there was a bookstore in town," or "I didn't know there was a coin shop." Really, the coin shop's been there for over 30 years, and yet many people in town don't realize there's a coin shop there. So the Zimics are a good example of somebody who always tells me, thanks us for doing it. A lot of the businesses are right in that building. There's a dress shop, there's a coin shop, and then there's a bookstore. 3 of the 10 small retailers or so are right in that one building, so.
And I realize it's a little bit late, but let me backtrack. You said the ad is going to run through December?
No. The ad runs through Small Business Saturday.
Oh, only through small business?
Yeah. It started, today's the 13th. I think it started on the
Oh, so
11th.
so it's for those 2 weeks?
It's
then
2
leading up,
weeks.
Okay.
Yeah.
Is there any opportunity for us, pardon me, I'm not sure why that's doing that. That's gotta be on your end. Thank you. It's got- still- Is there any opportunity for us to further capitalize on Small Business Saturday as a reminder for people to come in to the downtown area through the Christmas season? And by that, I mean, if we posted a banner that said Small Business Saturday in the downtown and did something that's adjacent to that signage that's near Oak and Lake Street,
Right.
I think the cost of a banner would be nominal.
It's a very excellent suggestion. They send us one large stand-up banner, and we've put it up in front of Town Center. But that's a good point that we could certainly invest in an additional banner or two at some of the prominent locations. We don't have a lot of communications with them. It's American Express, and I think they probably get thousands. So the one thing I don't know the answer to is how much we can. I would be comfortable with using their logo since it really is promoting it. But yeah, they sent us one large stand-up banner that we've put up, and we haven't ordered any additional as a village, but we could.
Yeah, I think it would be a great idea to get one ordered and put up just as soon as possible.
Right.
I think particularly since I think that on this calendar year, we have more of an extended shopping season between Thanksgiving and Christmas.
Hey, Scott's trying to.
Well, Tony, I know that Arts and Bartlett had more people come in who didn't know we were there and that we had gifts last year. And this year, we're having a pop-up shop.
Right.
Where we'll have vendors, have tables there so hopefully we'll have a lot of people come to that. We also put that big logo that looks like a city, you know what I'm
Yes.
talking about, as our cover photo on our Facebook. So maybe if you encourage and actually send it to the people who are participating, they can put that on their Facebook or website too.
Another very good idea. They do have that logo. Usually it's on the bag. It's kind of like a little skyline with a bookstore and a bike shop and everything like that.
Right.
And they do encourage you to use that. So that's something that the businesses, they don't even all have Facebook pages themselves, but those that do, that's a good point for them to encourage, for them to promote that they're participating in it.
But what I'm saying, if you send it directly to them, I had to go out and search for it online with American Express, and, maybe not everyone's going to take that trouble.
Sure thing. It's going to be up to them whether they use it or not, but we could certainly send it to them.
Is there any other questions or comments?
I do. I wanted to just ask a question, and it might seem out of the ordinary, but every year you guys probably prepare for the Shop Small program. I'm new here. Have you guys given any thought to some long-term solutions for signage as you enter the village of Bartlett, similar to the signage at Stearns and Bartlett Road for the Park District, that would allow businesses in the town of Bartlett to promote their businesses on that electronic reader board, either at the corner of Bartlett and Stearns and 59, Army Trail and 59. I drove by and I saw Flappy's has a banner up trying to promote a breakfast restaurant, and I'm not sure if they've requested a larger presence in signage, but I feel as a resident, if we prepared our city better via signage as you enter the main arteries of our town and go to the restaurants and ask them, whether it be O'Hare's or Two Toots, if they'd like to advertise on that sign, to recuperate a little of that money and bring traffic into both downtown and through our main thoroughfares. You know, I think it's something that, I think we should explore the cost of that and what what we can recoup, because the amount of tax revenue that can be drawn in off of a highway like Route 59 could be priceless in comparison to the cost of the signage that could be added. And I also include in those areas, if you look at Bartlett Hills, they promote their events very well on their electronic reader board. The Park District does a very good job, and most towns have this type of application on their main arteries coming in. So, as you guys mentioned, you want to put signs up. I'm just looking at this saying, okay, this is just not a once-in-a-year thing. We can promote bigger and larger events in downtown through this signage, and really promote our businesses better, and maybe attract other businesses coming in, so they say, hey, look they have a really good presence here. They want to help their businesses. And it's just an opinion of mine, and a question is, has businesses like Flappy's requested better signage?
Can I just answer part of this? Because I do remember us having a discussion several years ago about this. And part of the problem with that type of electronic signage, particularly in areas that look to be most advantageous, it has to do with IDOT and the right-of-way.
Okay.
And I think that there's opportunity for that to be further explored, but you bring up a great idea in that specifically with Bartlett Hills, that's village-owned. There's no reason why we couldn't be advertising on that particular marquee for Small Business Saturday.
It's a good point. Right. Commissioner Smedilla provided some similar answer to what I was going to say. I mean, there's right-of-way issues between the state, between counties, village roads in some cases, and also private property. By the same token, you're correct, the Bartlett Hills electronic board was a project actually worked on issuing an RFP for many years ago. It's on village-owned property, and that's a good point. I think Scott would agree that's a good venue for us to promote Small Business Saturday and other local events as well.
Yeah, great low-hanging fruit. Thanks for
I just
bringing
think
back
that
up.
we're a small community, but we have a lot to offer down here. And I think that if we can explore the IDOT restrictions on state roads, and then you look at like Lake Street and Oak, you guys have, or we have a sign that says, "Welcome to Bartlett." Maybe there's an opportunity to enhance that signage since it's already there and draw some customers in and draw some residents, some people into our downtown district. That's all. I just wanted to explore it, and maybe if it was talked about, bring it back to life, and let's see if we can do something and find some funds to do it, and maybe some of the community businesses would help out with it. I mean, there's different ways we can approach that.
Is that something that we could also bring before the Bartlett Park District?
The Bartlett Park District currently maintains and operates the one by Jewel at Bartlett and Stearns, and it's been upgraded to a digital reader board, and you guys could reach out and probably promote on their signage. I know that they're willing to work with anybody here.
I think you make a great point about the signs. I mean, especially, I couldn't think of a good example, but Lake and Oak is actually a perfect one. One of the challenges was with the Park District. I mean, if you're at that stoplight for a full rotation, you can't even get through their services. You can't even watch a full cycle of what they're promoting and what their vision is. So for us to ask them to, well, hey, can you put our information on there as well? That might be a little problematic coming from their standpoint, given that it is their sign. But I think you guys make a good point about the signage, and we'll certainly crunch the numbers and see what we can do. Like Commissioner Smedilla said, a lot of those roadways, it's just not going to happen.
Nobody's ever said it to me, but as a resident, I drive down 59 and look at that one strip mall where O'Hare's used to be, and I think that it's lacking some really good signage out there to promote that business.
It's a challenging spot, but we'll look into that. I think it's a great idea.
Okay.
But in the meantime, we can, like we said, under the heading of low-hanging fruit, we can start to use the
I'm
Bartlett.
sorry about that microphone. I
We
can't
can
fix it.
start to
We'll
use
have-
the Bartlett Hills marquee.
Yeah, we'll promote small business on that marquee. I think especially given the time of year, they might not have as much use for it. So, yeah, well, I'd be happy to do that.
Are there any further comments or questions? Okay, moving on. Item 5 on the agenda is Bartlett Business Spotlight.
Yes, thank you. This is a new thing that we're doing and staff here to promote local businesses in our social media, particularly in Discover Bartlett. Commissioner Gansey, our resident social media expert, isn't here tonight, but she gave a presentation here a few months ago in a small business workshop where she recommended incorporating video. And as you all know from utilizing social media on your own, that posting video to it can be a very powerful thing to promote your organization or your business. So what we've started doing just within the last few weeks is producing these short, again, similar to the Small Business Saturday commercial, these short 30-second videos to promote local businesses. We started it off with delicious crepes and roti right across the street. I'm going to show you 3 different promotional videos that we've done, just the staff people here coming in to promote local businesses. So hold on, I'm going to go back with this one again and get it from the start with the sound on.
Put on the full screen there, too.
I'm Rakesh. I'm owner at Delicious Crepes and Roti, which is located in the heart of Bartlett, across from City Hall, which is an awesome place to have business in. Our City of Bartlett, they're very, very helpful. Come and join us here. We specialize in French coffee, chef-crafted crepes, gelato shakes, French fries, and Indian burritos. Please come and join us. Thank you.
So this will keep, oh, there's Scott walking in. So that was our first one that you can see we posted October 30th, and you can see how popular it was, 2,600 views. It was shared on the official Village of Bartlett Facebook page as well. You can see right there, this reminds me, I'll post that on the next one we do, again, to have your business featured, message Discover Bartlett via this page or contact Tony. Following that, I was contacted by several other local businesses, and we have kind of a lineup. I haven't counted them, but maybe the next 4 or 5 already that have requested it. We're going to shoot one this Wednesday for one of the businesses that Commissioner Gunstein was just talking about down at Army Trail in 59, Piatanzas. And so that was our first one, was right across the street there in Town Center. Trying to recall what our second one, I believe, was the Bartlett Coin Shop.
So, my name's Tom Zimick, the owner of Bartlett Coin Shop.
Let me start that at the beginning.
Happy holidays. I'd like to introduce myself. My name's Tom Zimick, the owner of Bartlett Coin Shop. My family's been involved with the business now for 20 years. We're proud that we think this may be the oldest retail business in Bartlett. We're celebrating 32 years total. If you have needs for collectible coins, cards, or supplies, we're the place to come. We have annual sets for 2017, both cards and coins. Please feel free to stop by, and happy holidays.
And here we are going to go show you the third one that I just posted earlier today. Assuming I can find it. There it is. Do the same thing. Okay. Start it from the
For over 58 years.
Start it from the beginning.
Sells, and I'm the owner of
Try that one more time.
Probably going viral right now, so.
That's right.
Jamming up.
Okay, here we go. Annie, VIP, try take number 2. Okay. Well, I'm not a technical expert, but I'm going to give it one more old college try. Maybe reload the page. It's a little shorter. There it is.
Hi, my name's Annie Sells, and I'm the owner of VIP Barbershop. We've been serving Bartlett for over 58 years. Come check us out at our new location at 138 South Oak Avenue. Thank you.
So, whoop. Okay, and halt. So not everybody is comfortable as everyone else is with shooting these, but we offer this to Bartlett businesses. Obviously, there's no charge for them. We come out there with a tablet. Scott and Joey here are the main video producers. We did another one that's upcoming soon that Scott shot on his iPhone and spliced together some music and some photos, and maybe not quite as good as the one that the Comcast producers put together, but pretty close, I think. And but the important thing is that here we are giving the viewers of Discover Bartlett a glimpse inside of a business that they might not otherwise get a glimpse of. I mean, you might have driven past one of these places 1,000 times and never actually walked in. And this is kind of keeping up with our Small Business Saturday motif. I mean, obviously this isn't a retail business, but Bartlett's comprised of retail, service providers, financial, industrial. So this is another thing that we've just recently added to our marketing efforts. As you all know, economic development isn't just recruiting new businesses, it's retaining and trying to assist your existing businesses. And we felt that this was a good kind of cost-effective, quick and easy way to do that. And like I said, we've only posted 3 so far. We did shoot a 4th. We've got one scheduled for this Wednesday, and then I've got probably 5 or 6 more people requesting to, either come in after Thanksgiving or maybe after the holidays. So this will probably become a normal routine for us as staff, and we might not show them every month at the EDC, but maybe every other month or so or every month if the commission wants to see it, we can at least report on the ones that we've done. So we're all pretty excited about it. I'm excited about it. I mean, social media and Facebook's given us a very cheap, cost-effective way of marketing our businesses through this page, and then this just enhances it that much more. You can see the videos just posted 5 hours ago and has 336 views already. People share it, and the businesses themselves. VIP just doesn't happen to have a Facebook page, but some of the other ones have shared it. And then you can see that the reach went up to 2,600 on one of them. So there you have it. That's a new thing we're doing. Part of our village marketing, these Bartlett business spotlights.
Well, kudos. I think that's a great idea. And like you said, it's cost effective and obviously harness the power of, low-cost technology and social media.
If you want to move, you can talk without it, I think.
Okay. Thank you. The one comment that I'm assuming you're doing your own editing then as well?
Right, I think Joey's the editor.
I just add one at your closing page where it says, please come visit us or visit us soon, please add the name of the business again along with the address. I think people would be more inclined, thank you, Scott. People would be more inclined to take a screenshot then of that rather than going back to the page.
Good suggestion. Yeah, that's something we can easily incorporate into it. Mhm. Thank you.
Are there any other questions or comments on the Bartlett Business Spotlight? All right, item number 6 on the agenda, the broker email blast.
Sure, this is another thing that we have just recently started in the last month or two. And you all recall, over a period of months, we were presenting the inventories of available land, undeveloped land locations, and vacancies in commercial and office and industrial locations throughout the village. And once we got those all in order, what we did was we put together, this is an initiative really of Scott's lately, that we gathered many of my business card contacts from trade shows over the years, people who regularly email to me, regarding locations or spaces that they're brokering themselves. We compiled roughly 300 of them, and it's a list that's going to continue to grow. And what we did just very recently was a blast email to these brokers, basically saying, come take a look at Bartlett. It was in the packet. I know you have it electronically, but it looked like a photo of Bartlett, the same photo we're using on the Discover Bartlett page. And it was an email talking about various sites that we're trying to push in the community. This particular one highlights, the first click is to access the village's new vacancy list. So somebody can look at, like I said, any land site or commercial or industrial spaces. The second one that we were highlighting is village-owned land that we talked about a couple of months ago, where we hired the broker, Sperry Van Ness, to broker 11 acres owned by the village at Route 59 and 20. And then the third one that we were highlighting, now that, as you all know, we're filling our biggest vacancy at Stearns Crossing, the former Dominic's space. Once again, the largest vacancy in town is for many years, even prior to the Dominic's closing, is right down the block at Bartlett Plaza, the former grocery space there. That what this link leads them to is a very detailed sales brochure for that center. I tend to get more inquiries to purchase that center than I do to fill the space. And so we're highlighting those for this one. Of course, we can highlight different properties at different times, but we figured for our initial email blast to brokers, we're really trying to find a buyer first and foremost for the village-owned property at 59 and Lake. And also, of course, we would like to find either a new buyer for Bartlett Plaza or a tenant to fill that space. So we sent that out. Those of you in the whatever industry you happen to be in know that you get many such emails like that every day. Personally, I probably get dozens of them, so we didn't get a real lot of responses on the first one, but I did get a few responses. We sent that out a couple of Fridays ago, and so when I returned Monday, there were about 4 or 5 requests for further information on it. So I consider it a pretty good success for our first effort at it. We're going to continue growing the list of email addresses, and this is something we're going to probably do, I want to say maybe every other month, maybe every 3 months, and in particular prior to some of the big trade shows. There's an ICSC show in Chicago early February. So the next one, I know we want to do something early 2018. We haven't written the text yet, but it'll be something like make 2018 the year you come to Bartlett, or fit Bartlett in your plans in 2018, something related to the new year. And also, we talked about Scott and myself traveling to the ICSC show in Las Vegas next May, and we would like to do one maybe a month prior to that as well, inviting people to meet with us there. So this is something we're going to do on a regular basis, and I'll continue to bring it before the EDC, so you know that's something we're utilizing. This is kind of keeping with the theme of all the digital marketing that we've been doing, and that was part of the Economic Development Commission's marketing plan for 2016 through 2020. So you can see we're doing step by step by step, we're implementing that plan.
Is there an opportunity to do similar videos that could be linked to this particular marketing effort? Perhaps interviewing some of the more successful businesses that we have, like at Brewster Creek or at Heron, is it Heron's Landing?
Blue Heron.
Blue Heron, yeah.
Yeah.
I think there might be a compelling story that some of our long-term businesses might be able to share with prospective tenants or developers.
Yeah, I mean, one thing is we don't want to make it too overwhelming, but you're right. You know, we can always look at ways to increase the interaction with it. We do have one video that we're working on that's different from these business spotlights, but it's in the early stages. We'll probably show it to you in a month or two, and that's a video that's actually would be highlighting that village-owned property. So that's probably the first one that you'll see, or that's linked to one of these email blasts.
All right.
So we didn't really talk about interviewing business owners. That's more for this type of thing. This is more to really, we're trying to capture some site selection and brokers' eyeballs to look at sites that we have.
Well, again, maybe we don't interview the actual businesses, but we talk about some of those successes. I mean, I
Right.
think Rana Pasta is probably just a great success story in that
Oh,
they're
absolutely.
not only have they,
Yeah.
you know, developed here, now they're expanding here, and then we look at, you know, some of those tenants out in Brewster Creek who've decided to stay, and
It's a good
the
point.
number of, you know, the number of people that are employed out there, and
Yeah, interestingly enough, you know, we talked about the former Dominic space so many years here, but at the ICSC show that Scott and I attended at Navy Pier at the end of September, interestingly enough, though, even though obviously that use is not retail, that was a very, very great interest to the retail broker community. And once that project gets underway, as you're mentioning, that would be a natural to put into that. And it doesn't matter whether it was for some trendy restaurant or what type of business it was. The brokers who represent them were extremely interested in the Amita project, just the size and the scope of it. They're going to want to be close to it. And so that's something, that's a good suggestion, and that's something we'll incorporate. You know, maybe a picture of the rendering of Amita when they submit it, or something, you know, when they start building it. And it'll be something like, you know, Amita is coming to Bartlett, and come join Amita, Ace Hardware, and the new businesses that have come to Bartlett. So we can certainly utilize some of our success stories in these.
That's great, thank you. And just one question that's a little bit off topic. Speaking of the Amita site, is there any news from our good friends at the Verizon store and their plans for expansion?
No, not since we met with them.
Okay.
The proposed outlet development across the street is, even though it hasn't broken ground, is the most expensive rent asking space in the village as of now. So, you know, not to say they won't move over there, but that really hasn't changed anything.
And there's no concern about them leaving Bartlett?
None at all.
Great.
No,
Thank you.
welcome.
Are there any other questions or comments regarding the broker email blast section of the agenda? Thank you. And Tony, would you bring us up to speed on the USB drives? It's item number 7 on the agenda.
Yes, thank you. Sure will. So again, getting back to the trade shows that we attend where we promote the village, and not just trade shows, but other more local events like business expos and Chamber of Commerce events. Over the years, of course, most communities have always used paper type of marketing materials, and we still do, and villages, not only Bartlett, every community still does. There's folders, you customize them depending on what type of business you're meeting with or event you're attending. You know, you might fill it with all industrial things for one event, and then the next week fill it with all retail things. But what, as a person who's gone to these type of trade shows now for 17 years, I can tell you more and more often when I'm handing somebody a folder chock full with paper information, they'll tell me either just email it to me or give me a USB drive. So within your packets, you see I scanned and included a photo of 8 different communities that were utilizing USB drives at the last ICSC show. Choose DuPage, we shared a booth with Choose DuPage, they had them. Des Plaines, Wooddale, Hanover Park, West Chicago, Springfield, and that little yellow one is a town called Peru, Illinois. And for most of the people that they meet with or are pitching their communities to, they give them a handy-dandy USB drive with all the information on it. So what Scott and I did following that show was we just put in our initial order for these USB drives. I don't have enough right now to hand them out to everybody, but I'm holding one up. They have the village seal on them, so we can use them for multiple purposes besides just trade shows. And what we're going to use these for, like I said, we're not going to cease using our paper folders and paper goods when those are important things for us to continue utilizing. But for the type of show where we might want to hand somebody 30 pieces of information about the village, or we're in a meeting with somebody, let's say, for instance, we want to meet with a hotel and we want to present like a hotel study or something like that. We don't want to necessarily go under the assumption that if we meet with 20 different businesses, they each want the same things in the folders. So long story short is we're going to use these as part of our business attraction strategy, and we're going to load them, they're all blank. So we're going to load them with whatever information we want to utilize so they can be easily updated. 2018 demographics in the new year when they come out, that kind of thing. So just wanted to point that out. That's another component of our marketing strategy in terms of the types of materials that we're going to start using. And I think the next ICSC show in early February or March is probably the first time we'll use them.
Is that just the village logo that's on those?
Yes, the village logo.
How prominent is the name Bartlett on them?
Here, I'll bring one up. Yeah, I didn't want to, I just figured I'll pass them down.
The term Discover Bartlett, has that been used as part of the brand strategy?
Yeah, that was a branding logo the EDC devised about 10 years ago. The Never Far Away.
That would just be my suggestion, that Discover Bartlett would be put on here in a font similar to what you see, like Choose DuPage. It's really easy to see.
We'll get a lot more of those through the years to come, so we'll certainly do that
Awesome.
in our next batch.
Yeah, and a Sharpie then on the backside.
Right.
I just have one comment that might,
Sure.
something to add to the zip drives. You guys are into the video editing business now, and I think it's great. I think one of the things that need to be addressed when you're meeting developers is maybe put a video together explaining how easy the process could be when it comes to getting your permits and your approval process. And, you know, that is a problem, and it's something that Bartlett has had to overcome for a lot of years. I mean, I talk to a lot of developers, and they say, it's very tough to get through the gates in Bartlett. And I know it's not, but they feel it is. And I think if you can have some sort of a video, maybe of different personnel explaining how quick we can get your permits and your plans processed, and, something to have on every one of those when you're handing it out. And maybe even have the application forms on there and stuff, just simplifying that development process. As a developer, I'm looking at it that way. There should just be a standard set of forms and a few of the videos and on all of them. So when they're sent out, it's right in their face. So just something to think about.
Thank you. We appreciate all the suggestions. I mean, these are going to be utilized in different ways, and you're right, for retail shows, that's probably the most likely use of that type of material. So, that's the beauty of these things too, is they can be, you can put information on 30 of them, only use 20 of them, erase all those 10 and put something else on it for the next show. So it'll probably vary from season to season and from, depending on what type of businesses we're meeting with. So
And
we
you
appreciate that.
guys already probably have talked about this, but do you have a entire list of businesses categorized by retail or restaurants that you can upload into that as well? So when somebody can download that, they can look at a sheet and say, oh, there's an Ace Hardware, there's a Home Depot. And
We
so on
actually
and so
have that on our website.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah,
Something that
and
maybe
we
could be
do-
added to that, to give them an idea of what other businesses are in town, so.
I use the business list a lot when I meet with businesses. Part of the allure of it is lack of competition for some categories. When AutoZone came in, gave them a list, told them there wasn't another auto parts store. I've recently met with a pet supply store. I was trying to get into town and told them there's no other pet supply store and provided the list of businesses. So that is something that we use, not all the time, but in a lot of instances, we do use that.
Well, I think Commissioner Gunstein makes some really excellent points, and that is to provide developers or prospects with as much information up front, so it makes the buying process for them very, very easy.
Right, that's why we went, if you look at those, they're 2 gigabytes instead of 1. Like most of the towns have used 1, and we got a little extra memory on there.
Are there any other comments or questions regarding the use of USB drives for marketing? Great, thank you. Moving on to agenda item number 8. Tony, you had a business visit with Bartlett Gymnastics.
We did. I met with them along with Commissioner Stephanie Gansey. As is the case in a lot of these businesses, visits that we do, I was contacted with a question about their business and called them for the answer. It was real estate related, essentially, but it gave me a good opportunity to request a business visit with them, and came out there, met with the owners, Kelly Kenders and Robin Sedlicek, and you can read all the information in the packet about how long they've been there for a very long time, 20 years. The building was constructed by the original owner, and actually last time that I had done a business visit there was with Greg Didich. So I'll be honest, I didn't know he wasn't still the owner of it. And so the other owners who we met with, I'm trying to remember in the report, they've owned it since 2012, so for about 5 years. They have a total of 30 employees, 5 full-time. The remainder are part-time coaches and instructors. You can see that at their peak, they had about 1,000 children, and they're down to about 800. And when we asked for an explanation of that, it was interesting because we always talk about demographics from a village side, pitching our demographics to potential businesses and answering their questions about demographics. They told us that with less younger families having moved in the last few years, with people with the aging population, Bartlett and the whole area, really, there's maybe slightly less young families now. At least that's what they thought than they used to have. So the young children during weekday hours have declined, but the classes for slightly older children have remained jam-packed after school and on weekends. Commissioner Gansey, who knows a lot more about social media than I do, spent a bulk of the meeting going over their social media strategy with them. They do a lot of advertising, by the way. A lot of these business visits that I do, I'm just suggesting doing advertising and going over the different methods of advertising in the village with them. But they've done Park District brochures, Clipper magazines. They go on the menus of some restaurants. They've mailed out postcards. They're in the welcome wagon. They do 4th of July and National Night Out. So really, in terms of their marketing, they're pretty much on top of it. And then I would defer to Commissioner Gansey and gave them some free coaching about Facebook, Instagram, Yelp, and other platforms. Suggested doing some profiles on coaches, individual students, and also was telling them some of the things we talked about, like putting video on there and enhancing their own social media. So we discussed doing the December Bartlett or coupon insert, which is something you'll all see next month. They're going to participate in that, and told them also about the Discover Bartlett page. So you'll see them also in one of these Bartlett business spotlights fairly soon. So they've been there for a long time. There's no plan of going anywhere for the business. It's one of those Bartlett staples in terms of thinking about the businesses that are located down there by Army Trail and 59, right by the Starbucks. They've been there for 20 years. So it was a good visit. It was nice to kind of renew acquaintances with them. Any questions about Bartlett Gymnastics?
Kids go there.
Oh, your kids go there?
They're through tumbling or gymnastics, so we support that business pretty well here, and I know they had a couple of hiccups with some of their employees, so I'm glad to see the village is rallying around them and helping support keeping them going there, so it's good.
Yeah, I'd like to even see what we can do to support them even longer. I mean, I think particularly the impact that they have on young families. I'm just going to say that a 20% decline over 5 years is hardly somewhat of a decline, and that concerns me. So what I'd like to know is the statistic that was cited, or I should say the comment in here that of the owners explain that this is primarily due to shifting demographics with less younger families and fewer stay-at-home mothers in the village. Can we actually substantiate that?
Yeah, we can and we have. It's accurate. It's accurate. It's become, real estate transfers have picked up again, but there were lots of years where, like I said, not unique to Bartlett at all, where it was harder for people to sell their homes, where people were underwater, where the property taxes became very challenging. And yeah, it's basically accurate. We've done, the last 2 years, we've done the big economic indicators report in the village every January. We'll be doing the same thing this January for the benefit of the new commissioners. And it's basically accurate. The average age just keeps going up by a year every year in Bartlett. And the number of families with children in 18 and younger goes down by a few percentages every year. So they are accurate.
It is true that the population here is getting older because from what I've heard on my level with the kids in baseball and sports, that a lot of families are going to other areas where the sports are more intense, where they really promote rugby and baseball, and they keep their fields up, and that's a big deal here in Bartlett. And I can tell you I've heard it a lot, and it worries me because you want to keep a rotation of young and youth in our town to keep people, alive and moving around here, and it's, you get, everybody grows up and they leave, and you want to have a young community here. You want the parks to be used, you want the schools to be used, and so I think it is definitely, the kids are getting older and they're not there's not a lot of younger kids coming in. So, and believe me, talked to a lot of parents, and they are moving to other towns that are promoting those type of sports.
I don't know about you folks, but not to sound old, but when I was a kid, you had a league and you had a sport. Now parents are putting their kids into so many different sports, so many travels, and I mean, 15 years ago to go out of state for a baseball or basketball or football tournament was unheard of. Now it's a regular occurrence. So as far as youth sports and activities, that's becoming more and more competitive and more difficult to obtain.
It is, and I think Bartlett needs to get on the cutting edge of enhancing their youth sports programs. I think that's something you guys need to look at, to keep the younger population here.
Yeah, we'll pass it along to the Park District. We'd be happy to.
I know, I have.
Well, it sounds like there might be a good opportunity for an intergovernmental meeting on that, because particularly if sports keeps families in Bartlett, and I agree with what Commissioner Gunstein said, and that, if we're not providing the landscape or the amenities that parents are looking for, I don't blame them for leaving, but at the same time, we need to be just as nimble in, finding opportunities to make that happen. I think with particular note, I believe that Bartlett is one of the few communities in the areas that has as much green space as we do. So I think there's probably good opportunity for us to capitalize on that. So thank you for the substantiation, and thank you for the comments, Commissioner Gunstein.
You're welcome.
Are there any other comments or questions regarding the business visit to Bartlett Gymnastics? All right, thank you. Moving on to item number 9 on the agenda, my favorite, the occupancy vacancy rate update.
Yes, thank you once again, Commissioner Smedilla. This is part of an ongoing economic development strategy. So I've been talking about the occupancy and vacancy rate here almost every month since 2005, so long enough to see that it goes through cycles. And we happen to be in a cycle now where we're filling more commercial spaces than are going empty. So that's a good thing. That's something every year, not just every year, throughout the year we're always addressing that. But I wanted you all to keep in mind we're always trying to reduce our vacancy rate. We're always trying to increase our occupancy rate. That's every day of every week of every year is our primary goal. So in January of 2017 was the last time we did that very comprehensive economic indicators report. Like I said, we'll be doing it again in January or February of 2018. At that point, the retail vacancy rate was 14%, the industrial vacancy rate was 12%, and the office vacancy rate was 7.6%. Now, without going through every paragraph of this report, the gist of it is that the industrial vacancy rate has gone, after it was diminished to a very low amount, from about 20% down to 12%, it's back up over 20% again, and that is due because of all the construction that we're going through. If you were to take away all the new construction from this year, then our industrial vacancy rate would be very negligible. But of course, we've had about 1 million square feet of new space. As you all recall, we always measure vacancy and occupancy rate based upon square footage. That's standard for any real estate industry. So we did the business park tour back in June. You all saw that 421,000 square footer by Exeter, the 271,000 square footer by Ridge, and a 67,000 square footer by G4. Even since then, there's been another speculative building of 186,000 square feet under development. And then also I should mention that there's 3 build-to-suit buildings, meaning that they will be fully occupied immediately upon their construction. And one of those is by Camcraft and Matrix. One of them is another building, the headquarters for Rana Meal Solutions, and another one that just started within about the last month or so for Get Fresh Produce. So anyhow, the long story short is that the industrial vacancy rate has gone up, but that's simply because of all the new construction. I think by the next meeting or two, I'll be able to tell you that there is a large tenant coming into that building by Exeter, the 421,000 square feet. Not the entire space, but more than half the space. So that'll be a big chunk of our industrial vacancy rate. That project alone will be a couple percentage points. So let's shift over to the retail vacancy rate. That was 14% in January, which of course is a high percentage when you're looking through a whole village. However, I had mentioned then and kind of throughout the months that half of the commercial vacancy in Bartlett was attributable to the former Dominick's in Stearns Crossing. So now that Amita Health has entered into a lease agreement for 65,613 square feet, of course, they're not in there yet. We're still awaiting their plans. But in terms of the vacancy rate, when you look at the primary service providers, LoopNet and CoStar, that's no longer listed as vacant because the lease has been executed. So that's going to go down by about half. The second most significant lease of this year, but one that went quickly and opened quickly, is the Ace Hardware, over 10,000 square feet in Bartlett Plaza. And not to forget the many smaller occupancies like Flappy's, Wheaties, Ambrosia coming soon, Olivia's Place, the new T-Mobile store, Hallmark Pharmacy, and Candyman Barbershop. So each of those are anywhere from 1,200 maybe to 3,000 square feet, but you get enough of those. Again, I don't know exactly what the vacancy rate is going to be in January, but we've got it greatly reduced. I want to see if I have an exact number in there. So the largest and most persistent vacancy remains the former Bartlett Fresh Market space. That's a little over 31,000 square feet. Oh, there it is. The retail occupancy rate has surged to 93%, which is actually very healthy. Really anything over 90% is a healthy economy in the retail world. Most property owners who, if they own a mall or a shopping center, for their financing purposes, typically a bank or a lender will just add in a 10% vacancy as basically normal for lending purposes. So that's usually the industry standard. And in terms of office, the village has 957,000 square feet of office, and that's scattered throughout a bunch of different buildings. That's 31 different buildings. As of January of this year, the office vacancy rate was at 7.6%, and it's increased only slightly to 8.7%. And if you look at a chart for the last 4 or 5 years, it's hovered between 7 and 9%. The reason being is there's no one huge office user in the town. There's just a bunch of smaller ones. They're financial advisors, dentists, chiropractors, doctors, you name it. There's offices all over the place, and mostly have remained in the village for a long time. They rarely leave. So that's a good thing. We're strong in our office sector. So there you have it. That's the latest and greatest update in the office vacancy, or office, industrial, and retail vacancy and occupancies. And any questions?
Wondering, Ambrosia is a restaurant that's opening up?
Yes.
It has opened?
I don't think they've opened quite yet. They're going into where the last business in there was the Smokin' Barbecue Pit. They're over in the Bartlett Commons Shopping Center. It used to be Nicodino's. It's I don't remember the exact square footage, but somewhere around 2,500 square feet.
Be like a Greek restaurant.
Yeah, Greek food, gyros, kind of Greek-inspired comfort food.
Is there an opportunity to reach out to these newly opened businesses or those that are about to open and give them some measure of priority on Discover Bartlett?
Oh, they will be. They always are.
Okay.
That's kind of, that's.
Or
one-
something, or
yeah.
perhaps with the Discover Bartlett, when a new company or a new business comes in, is
Absolutely.
we do like the grand opening, and we've got.
Absolutely, and I always encourage the folks to join the chamber. They do some fantastic ribbon cuttings,
Yeah.
but sometimes
Yeah,
the companies, for whatever reason, aren't prepared for that, I guess.
Yeah.
But we try and push that as well.
Yeah, I've learned a lot about search engine optimization through Facebook. If you write new restaurant open with an exclamation point, I mean, it'll get 5,000, 10,000 views. So we always, I just wanted everybody to know that. We always promote, not every new industrial business always, but
Right.
when we have a business open to the public and they open, we always put them on there.
Right.
And in the village newsletter as well.
yeah. And that's how I see Discover Bartlett anyways, really primarily being for the consumer rather than a business to business.
Right.
Yeah,
We put on big
every-
projects in the industrial park, but primarily it's Shop Bartlett, Dine Bartlett. That's the consistent message we've been doing since EDC formed that page with me about 4 years ago.
Yeah, and I love the idea of the Bartlett Chamber ribbon cuttings. By the time I see it, it's normally like in the Bart letter. I have no idea it's going on. So I think social media actually heightens the awareness of that ribbon cutting going on, particularly if they're going to be doing it around, one, a grand opening, or two, offering some sort of incentive to get people in the door.
Yeah, like Scott said, if people check on the Chamber of Commerce website and social media, and of course, if they're members, they send out they communicate very well, almost daily, with the things they're doing, and with the merger with Hanover Park too, we get invited to ribbon cuttings there, and there's always something going on.
Great.
Through the chamber.
Great. Are there any other comments or questions regarding occupancy and vacancy in the village? All right, thank you.
Congratulate Tony and the Dominics. That was a biggie and was good work.
Thank you. Thank you for that comment. It was, and I don't want to take, like the credits on my end. It was a group effort, and it was an odd situation. Like I said here many nights at the EDC, the most difficult vacancy I've worked on in my economic development career, and maybe the only time when there had to be 3 multi-billion-dollar national, type businesses coming to an agreement. And remember, that's our one shopping center in town that's owned by a national real estate investment trust called VREIT, V-E-R-E-I-T. The lease was controlled by New Albertsons, which is the parent company of Safeway, which in turn owned Dominick's. So you had to agree on a lease from one of the biggest grocery chains in the country. And of course, Amita is no slouch themselves, and you can hardly turn on your TV, radio, or drive down the street without seeing or hearing an ad or a billboard. They're just expanding like crazy. So that's a good business to have in there. They're going to make a huge, significant investment in the town. So that's our biggest project we have going.
Did I hear correctly, they own Sherman Hospital?
See, I don't know that.
I thought I saw their sign up over there.
Yeah.
Amita, I'm sorry, Sherman is Advocate.
Oh, Advocate, okay.
Right. Yeah, but
Right,
let's hear
they
it for,
own,
let's hear it for Medtail. That seems to be on the rise when large retail spaces can't be filled by traditional retailers.
that's true. That's one of we talk about the ICSC show, and that's one of the biggest things that they talk about at the show is how medical uses are taking some of these former big box locations. And it is definitely a major trend. And I also wanted to add that when I get out there in the community and when our staff gets out there in the community, when we tell the businesses that have had declining sales that are in proximity to that location, they are beyond happy that there's a big multi-billion-dollar company. Their investment in that space is over $20 million. I mean, if you can imagine them taking an old, somewhat dilapidated grocery store and converting it into the state-of-the-art, newest, nicest healthcare facility in the area. The businesses in the area that I've told about it are very excited. You know, there's quite a few of them within that shopping center that have had declining sales in the nearly 4 years that the Dominic's has been closed. It was, one more comment, it was a very difficult lease negotiation between the tenant and the landlords. They had to overcome many obstacles, including a lot of clauses in the leases of the, excuse me, of the other businesses in that center who had signed leases stipulating they would be in a grocery-anchored center. So I probably sat here for 8 months talking about that it was going to come soon, still kind of saying that, but they've told us that the lease has been executed. So that's a major step in the right direction.
Tony, do we know yet how many people they're going to employ at the arena?
Yeah, the number was in the 80 to 100 range, but honestly, the last time I asked them that was at a meeting in February. Businesses like that tend to grow rapidly, like some of the businesses in our business park. You know, they're going to incorporate many smaller operations into theirs. So I would judge that as a preliminary number. Of course, the jobs are good, the professional type jobs in the medical field, and also the fact that they feel that will not just serve Bartlett, but a pretty significant radius around that intersection. So beyond the 80 to 100 doctors, nurses, and technicians that work there, it's going to be the hundreds and hundreds of people every day that go there for service.
Good for Bartlett.
Yes.
Are there any other comments or questions regarding the occupancy and vacancy rate? Well, this would conclude the regular agenda items for discussion, and with that,
I just want to make a couple of dates that I want you guys to be aware of. December 1st is our holiday holiday tree lighting near the gazebo, and the Park District does a fantastic job, along with some of our staff and the Lions Club and the Chamber. They really do a great job, so if you want to come out, it's a real nice event. Another date to keep in mind is the following Friday is our village holiday party. If you haven't got notification yet, you should be fairly soon, and we hope you can make it. Buy a soda. That's all I got.
thank you, Scott.
Yep.
And then with that, may we entertain a motion to adjourn? All in favor?
Aye.
We are adjourned. Thank you.